I feel greatly honored to be here today. This Saturday, the 26th of June, 2021, to share this precious moment with participants at the 39th edition of the Southern Cameroons International Town Hall.
Thank you for joining me on this show, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Augustine Amba. This afternoon, I was looking at my phone and I tapped on one of the postings, and that posting was Dr. Monzo on there. And I was curious because I know what Dr. Monzo is all about, and it's really past the time for him to still be coming on Ambazonian Forum. So I was curious, and so I spent some time listening to him. And I can tell you it was torturous. It was very, very torturous listening to Dr. Monzo. He was not a happy man. He didn't sound like a happy man. He sounded very much like somebody selling after the market. But I stayed because I really wanted to hear what he has to tell us this late in the game. And I'm saying this because Dr. Monzo has made presentations. We covered him in Atlanta in 2017, and his argument were basically that Ambazonians have no other future other than with La République du Cameroon, and that going to the UN is a waste of time. The UN has no time for Ambazonians. They have no solutions for them, and that the international community has way better problems than the problems of Ambazonia, so we shouldn't even count on the international community. And so he wrote us off. He told us that if we want a so-called independence, we should go fight for it, and that's the only option we have. Of course, La République, Paul Biya and his French backers definitely helped in that, because we already accepted the fight when they brought it, and Ambazonians have stood their ground. They've stood their ground to a point where the generals in La République are telling their government to negotiate, because Ambazonians have some very dangerous IEDs. And I'm just saying what they said. They have IEDs, which if there are no negotiations right now to stop the war, those IEDs can go into their part of the country and it will be too late. And so Ambazonians accepted the fight. They're fighting right now. In fact, the fight is drawing to an end. And so when I saw Dr. Monzo, it's like, wow, Doc, nice to see you, but what's up? I'll tell you what's up. Before I tell you though, Dr. Monzo in talking insisted on calling Ambazonia the northwest and southwest of Cameroon. The northwest of Cameroon, the southwest of Cameroon. And you see, he's joining the international community, international media, in playing that game. You've never heard them say littoral of Cameroon, or the central region of Cameroon, or central south region of Cameroon, or western region of Cameroon. No, it's only when they want to talk about Ambazonia, then they say the northwest region of Cameroon, the southwest region of Cameroon, and all of that is really taunting us. They're trying to make us say, oh, you want your Ambazonia, or you want to be free? No, you are northwest of Cameroon. You are southwest of Cameroon. But of course, they're the ones making a fool of themselves, not us. The other thing that Dr. Monzo also made sure he did not do was call Ambazonia. He's stuck with southern Cameroons to make a point. Not, I mean, there are times when we use southern Cameroons too, but we use it in order to make emphasis on a historical record. But no, he calls it just to make sure that he's not calling it Ambazonia. But I can tell you one thing, that it is the Ambazonians that have even authorized, they've given Dr. Munzo the right to call Southern Cameroons. Because if he had used the word Southern Cameroons in 2015, he'll be locked up. He'll be locked up. If he went on TV or on any forum or in writing, describe the northwest of Cameroon or the southwest of Cameroon as the Southern Cameroons, he'll be picked up. Remember Honorable Joseph Weber in La République's parliament, when he described us as West Cameroon, he made it as an act of defiance. And at the time, it was supposed to be a very bold challenge to the idea of Cameroon when he called us West Cameroon. And so when Dr. Monzo now says Southern Cameroons, no, we gave Dr. Monzo the right to do that because we've defied. We never called ourselves West Cameroon. We bypassed West Cameroon, bypass Southern Cameroon. We call ourselves Ambazonia. So it is very safe these days to talk about Southern Cameroons. So Dr. Monzo really made sure he used that right that we gave him to taunt us with, but we don't feel hurt at all. So this show was hosted by Dr. Niba Fontem.
Dr. Monzu believes in federalism as the pathway to resolving the problem of Southern Cameroons, or what he usually calls Anglophones. And he also believes that had Cameroon embarked on federalism much earlier, there wouldn't have been a war.
Dr. Fontem said that they accepted to host Monzo in the town hall as a clear indication of the kind of society we want to build.
Our accepting to host Dr. Monzo in the town hall is a clear indication of the kind of society we want to build. It is Southern Cameroons has to be an open society where there is plurality of opinion and where our people can live side by side with each other, no matter their political orientation and their political leaning.
Plurality of opinion and where our people can live side by side with each other, no matter their political opinion and political leanings. I think while we're fighting for Southern Cameroons and we're in the fight right now, I think it's premature to start talking about how Southern Cameroons should live and with who they should live. But right now we're in a fight and we need to keep the focus on that fight. People who are already not keeping the focus on that fight and inviting people whose message is irrelevant, made irrelevant not by us, even though we never accepted it, but it's just irrelevant by the events that have passed. So it looks to me like bringing Monzo right now and talking about living in plurality, it's kind of, I don't know what purpose that is serving.
I believe that Dr. Monzo's coming this town hall today is not by chance. God has willed it so, because there has constantly been a kind of rigs or a schism in the making between those who believe in the independence of Southern Cameroons and those who think that Southern Cameroons can still live as a federation.
So that is basically the introduction and what I think as far as Dr. Monzo on the forum. When Dr. Monzo started speaking, he thanked the moderator and Dr. Fontem. He felt honored to appear, likes to be in a forum where all Southern Cameroonians are welcome. That's the kind of forum he likes to be in. And that is the kind of discussion Southern Cameroons should be having. He accepted the invitation. He gave 3 reasons. He gave 3 reasons why he accepted the invitation.
I accepted the invitation to speak at today's town hall meeting for 3 reasons. First, because this is a gathering of Southern Cameroonians, and I am a Southern Cameroonian. Second, because I instinctively accept invitations to attend meetings that concern the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, our homeland.
He accepts the invitation to attend meetings, any meeting that's organized on behalf of Southern Cameroons, he would attend. And I think Dr. Monzo is trying to emphasize his Southern Cameroonianness, because he really is feeling outside the wind that's blowing in Southern Cameroons. And I think that's why he's doing all these things. That's why I say it was very torturous watching him, because you are dwelling on the obvious, and it makes for people to wonder why and feel sorry that you have to do that.
Since the announcement of this meeting went out, especially the flyer, people who care for me and have my best interests at heart have contacted me with great concern to ask if I am out of my mind. As one of them put it, to appear at an Amba event. They reminded me that those they called Amba leaders have warned me in the past that they have guns and put a price on my head. I am grateful to them for their concern for me, but I deplore such display of intolerance among Southern Cameroonians.
Now, the third point that he made, we said he had the urge to put a burning issue before Southern Cameroonians, and he did this in the form of a question.
The urge to put a burning issue before you, fellow Southern Cameroonians. I would formulate that issue as a question. And the question is this: can Southern Cameroonians find common ground in their search or quest for freedom? I repeat, can Southern Cameroonians find common ground in their search or quest for freedom?
He said, can Southern Cameroonians find common ground in the search or quest for freedom? That's the question he asked.
The burden of asking this question fell upon me. That of answering it lies on all of us.
The Southern Cameroon has a history going back to the early 1900s. This Dr. Munzu.
As a nation, the Southern Cameroons has a history going back to the early 1900s. That of the past 60 years has witnessed the implementation by the governing elite in 2 successive regimes in Yaoundé of a sinister program for the domination, marginalization, subjugation, assimilation, and takeover of the territory and its people, as well as the progressive obliteration of our specific heritage and value system in all areas of public governance. That has left us with the sentiment of becoming second-class citizens in a country that is supposedly ours. It has instilled in us a spirit of resistance to subjugation and assimilation, and enkindled in us a desire to be free. It can be said that among Southern Cameroonians, there is common agreement that the domination, marginalization, subjugation, assimilation, and takeover of our territory and ourselves is unacceptable and must stop. We demand to be free.
It's good that he makes this case, and I think we all agree with the case he's making. And I mention it so that when we start looking for how do you respond to what he just described, and so that you can start looking at the responses and seeing whether those responses are enough to stop what he just described.
But how is our freedom to be achieved? On this, Southern Cameroonians appear to embrace 4 distinct options. The first group does not see that there is anything to worry about. The second group acknowledges that we are entitled to be free, but holds that we can attain this status through a minimal devolution of local government responsibilities to regional and municipal councils in an otherwise centralized military state. The third group acknowledges our entitlement to freedom, but maintains that we can achieve it through the obtention of full autonomy guaranteed by the Constitution within Cameroon. The fourth group also acknowledges that Southern Cameroons must be free, and maintains that our territory can achieve this status only by standing on its own as an independent sovereign state.
This was the interesting part where this is the first time I heard Dr. Monzo say this. He said, to accomplish this, he has 4 groups in Ambazonia. The first group is the group that says nothing should happen. The second group is the group that says there should be devolution of minimal local governance. There should be a devolution of power from the center to provide some local power for citizens to govern themselves. That's the second. The third is those who want autonomy within Cameroon and guaranteed by the Constitution of La République du Cameroun. I think that one he's talking about federalism there. He did not use the word, but you can tell. And then the fourth group is the group that wants independence. And then he proceeds with all these different questions and says, none is inherently right. None is inherently wrong.
For the purposes of our discussion on the fundamental questions that I asked, the first group that is characterized by inaction is of no interest to us. Of the other three groups, none is inherently right, while the other two are inherently wrong. And none is inherently wrong, while the other two are inherently right. However, from its particular perspective, each group believes that its solution is the best. If they were proposing their respective solutions for three distinct nations, that is to say, territories and peoples, there would be no problem. Each one's solution would apply to its nation, and that would be the end of that. But in the case of the Southern Cameroons, we are concerned with one nation, that is to say, one territory and one people. So, can the dominated, marginalized, subjugated, assimilated, and disempowered nation of the Southern Cameroons achieve freedom simultaneously? I repeat, simultaneously, through number one, a minimal devolution of local government responsibilities to regional and municipal councils in an otherwise centralized unitary state. Number two, through the acquisition within Cameroon of full autonomy guaranteed by the Constitution. Number three, through standing on its own as an independent sovereign state. This, evidently, is not feasible. Therefore, should it be open to each of the three groups proposing these solutions to impose its option on the other two, and, if necessary, to do so by force of arms, thus creating the need for each group to arm itself in order to impose its own solution by force, as well as the risk of factionalism and internecine fighting for influence among Southern Cameroonians?
Each group believes in its solution. And I just made myself a little note here, and I call it a bogus argument. This is a bogus argument. So in this distribution of our people into four groups and assign these different, no, there have been polls taken in the Southern Cameroon by different organizations, and the one very solid majority that has always come far ahead in these polls is the group that wants independence from La République du Cameroon, for the reasons that he mentioned. Because no people can see all of that happen to them for over half a century and not react the way the people of Ambazonia are reacting in those polls. They want their independence. It was a legal independence that was taken away from them. So Dr. Monzo continued by saying, can one group impose its solution on the others? And he says on the other two, because he said the first group that says nothing should be done is out. So there are three groups. One that wants local governance, one that wants greater autonomy through the constitution, and obviously those who want independence. He's saying that among these three groups, there's none that can dominate the two. Can one impose a solution on the other two, forcing the other two? And that if any group tries to force the other two, then they are forcing the other two to especially if they do it by arms, like those who are vying for independence are doing. He's saying that if you are trying to, if those who are fighting for independence use their arms to force the other two groups, then the other two groups also have the right to go get their own arms and come and fight those who are trying to impose themselves on them by force.
In their quest for freedom, do southern Cameroonians have a common foe? Or are they each other's foe? Should they embark on a search for common ground? Or should they battle against each other on the ground?
Is there a common enemy, or they are each other's enemy? So he's now saying, instead of doing this, can we all somehow work together to face the enemy, or are we each other's enemies? Of course, this type of argument can only come from people who are outside the 80-something percentage. And I know there have been some polls that are even 90 and higher. But this type of argument can only come from the minority that feels outside the mainstream to a point where they need to, at each statement, certify their belongings into Southern Cameroons.
The search for common ground for their freedom appears to be a national imperative for Southern Cameroonians. It creates for us the need to look dispassionately together.
So basically, he's begging these three groups to work together and look for a common ground,
weighing the factors in favor or against each one, with a view to working out compromises whenever possible, or deciding together which option or elements thereof should constitute common ground. Our quest for the freedom of Southern Cameroons is not proceeding in a vacuum. It is taking place in the context of our territory's relationship with another country, the Republic of Cameroon, La République du Cameroun, that we opted to join on 11th February with effect from 1st October of 1961. The joining was predicated on historical as well as contemporary facts and on international legal instruments, processes, and procedures. How are they likely to impact on the Southern Cameroon search for freedom?
We opted to join in 1961, historical, legal. How will these things impact? So now he is now progressing and say, okay, so, and this is where I start finding even greater problems with Dr. Monzo. He says that we opted to join La République in 1961. That's not true. We did not opt. We're forced to. We're forced to. We're forced in a plebiscite, even after we have set in a conference in Mamfe, where the British called that conference in order to lay down, or they when they call the conference in Mamfe, they say, well, we want this conference so that you can determine what you want. When the people went there, they said, no, we want our independence. And the British imposed a plebiscite on the people of Southern Cameroons. So when Dr. Monzo said we opted, no, we're forced. So he said we opted to join La République du Cameroun in 1961. And that before then we had a history with La République du Cameroun, and there are legalities, and that there was international involvement. And so he's asking, in this our fight for independence, how do these things impact that struggle, the solution that comes out? So basically he's saying that we have some complicity in our own demise, and that there are other legalities that may prevent us from seeking what we are seeking. But these are not new arguments. Like I said, if you've listened to him before, he has always said these kinds of things, making the case of the enemy. It is not for an Ambazonian to be making the case of the colonizer. We never opted to join La République. Historically, we were part of a German African colony. We did not join that German colony voluntarily. We were all captured people. And when the Germans were forced to leave, well, the new masters, just like the Germans did, took whatever they want, and we became new territories with new cultures and new languages. So we have never voluntarily been together under anything called La République du Cameroun speaking French. We have never been. And so this whole thing where people are trying to tie us with a very foreign people, with a foreign culture, with a foreign language, that somehow we're one people. No. The Bafut people have never been part of the Wondo people. The Bakweri people have never been part of some Muslims in northern Cameroons. So we were living in our different tribes, and each tribe was like a nation to itself. The German came and took all these tribes and controlled us as in their own way, and made their own boundaries. It was their boundaries; they were not our boundaries. And when they left, the Bafut people remain Bafut, Bakweri remain Bafut, Bali remain Bali. So anybody who tries to say, oh, we have some rights over you because we're part of a captured people sometime by some invaders, it doesn't make sense. And that's what Dr. Monzo is trying to say here. A wrong done, it doesn't matter for how long that wrong is perpetuated, doesn't make it become something illegal, something legal. So no, there's nothing historical. Before we joined La République du Cameroun, before we were forced to become part of La République du Cameroun in 1961, we were never part of those people. We were never part of those people. So did Southern Cameroon contribute in creating the problems, and how does that impact the resolution? So he's saying, if we contributed in getting ourselves into La République du Cameroun, then, how are you going to take yourself out? Because by contributing, that was you were giving your consent. And I said, no, that's not true. Where does the international stand? Where does the international community stand on a question? All of these questions he's asking now are all old and gone, because these were questions to answer when Ambazonians started agitating in 1961, in 1972, in 1984. We have agitated all along. How many times did we go to the UN? How many times have we agitated to La République du Cameroun and its French backers? We had resolution AAC 1, AAC 2. We can name all of them. So the lawyers in 2016 were saying, come, let's talk, so we can decide on how to live together. They failed us. So all these questions, there was an ample time, but now they declare war on us. We're defending ourselves. We stood our ground, and in standing this ground, French generals who have been fighting us are now saying, please negotiate with these people because they have IEDs. I'm quoting their words. I'm not the one who, they used to come and take our den guns, go and pack them somewhere. Every time they kill civilians, they take those den guns and throw on them. No, we don't have den guns anymore. Now we have something else, and that is a threat to them. And they were telling La République that negotiate with these people, because if within months you don't negotiate with them and they take their IEDs to La République du Cameroon, it will be too late. That's what the generals are saying. And so we have stood our ground, and we have defended ourselves very well. And somebody is still coming now and is giving us these arguments which really don't even have space. They're so far out of reality that there's a different, that I feel like the people who brought Dr. Monzo to come talking to us now have a different agenda that you and I don't know, and we want to know what agenda is it. Now, this is something that he's repeating now. He says, Southern Cameroonians are not the only people fighting for freedom. How did the other people fight for freedom? How did they do? How long did it take them? Does their history inform us? Freedom comes at a price. It can be a high price or a low price. Which one do we choose? So basically he's saying, oh, look at the other people who have fought. Look at how long they have fought. Do you just want to negotiate some kind of accommodation with La République so that you don't pay the high price? And I tell Dr. Monzo that we have already paid the price. Over 400 villages have been burned. Over 40,000 of our people have been killed. Now, these are numbers coming from La République military. 40,000, the newspapers that still report 3,000 today, and 3,000 were the numbers that I started reporting in 2017. No, I read a report coming from a La République source, a La République military source, that they have 40,000 people killed, and that the bodies are being dissolved in acid provided by the Israelis. That's what that report said. So we have paid the price in our property. We've paid the price in our people killed. We paid the price in over 60,000 in refugee camps in Nigeria. Over 1 million scattered all over the territory. Working slave labor, some begging on the streets, some prostituting in order to make a living. So that's the price we've paid. So I don't know what other price Dr. Monzo is talking about. That's why I say he's selling after the market. I mean, it's shocking. So he's saying that so those who are fighting for independence should really reconsider because of what he's saying, and so that we work as three groups and come up with a solution that is more solid, and maybe we'll not have to pay all these prices. Again, we've already paid the price for our freedom, and we are now actually doing really well. Now, I wrote some commentaries here that I just want to go through because these are now my reflections. I said, Dr. Monzo, who does not want to fight against La République, is ready to fight those who are willing to fight the enemy. And you know where I'm going there. He was talking about that if those who want independence have already gotten arms and they're trying to fight suppressing his two fake groups that he put together, then those two groups can go and get their own arms. We say, go get them. His arguments and guns have always been turned turned against any greater freedom for Ambazonians. The question is why? Because you see, Dr. Monzo always keeps the sharpest arguments, always look for weaknesses or what he considers weaknesses in our argument. His argument ever since has been to us. It's never been to La République. What Dr. Monzo needs to do with his law and legal education is to make the case of his own fellow citizens who I just mentioned are either killed or in exile or as IDPs all around the place, not to come re-victimizing the victims. He forgot what time it is. We've already fought the fights he is talking about. La République did not give us the chance to do anything. No. You know, while we're still talking, and our lawyers and our teachers were still talking, and we're asking and we're marching with our with our leaves on the street, doing what civilized society says we should do, La République du Cameroon went and got its arms and attacked us. Mercilessly. Planned it. And planned to do it illegally. And planned to commit war crimes. Because they told the DO in Mamfe that tell villagers to get out of their villages because we are coming and we'll burn the villages. And if we catch you there, you'll be considered an enemy. And then they went and did exactly what they said. So we even if we wanted to go with Dr. Monzo, we didn't have the chance because La République was not listening to him. They were not listening to him. I mean, this is a man who wants us to do all these things and make all these arguments without considering what the enemy is all about. How does the enemy think? Does the enemy even think about some of the things that he's talking about? The answer is no. We were talking about force of argument and not the argument of force on the one hand. And the SDF were doing democracy on the other. All of them failed. So when La République was coming in, all we have been doing, we were not thinking about arms. We were thinking for a long time, the SDF, the SCNC had this their big motto, the force of argument and not the argument of force. The SDF was there, power to the people, fighting for democracy. But all of them failed. SCNC banned, SDF bought off. One banned and the other bought off. Yep. We are left with self-defense against an onslaught that has claimed over 400 villages, refugees in exile, and over 1 million IDPs, with our citizens scattered in La République, etc., and fatherless. Children survive through begging, slave labor, and prostitution, while the learned lawyer focuses his argument not towards making the case of the helpless, but blaming those defending themselves against internationally armed and empowered occupiers to murder. Making their case where there is no case to make, because the two fake groups that he talks about that also can arm themselves to fight the freedom fighters have no case. Because you have a case if La République du Cameroon is saying, well, I give you federation. Or I think I've already said that. I shouldn't be repeating myself. The Federalists lost in 1972 when La République abolished the fake federation which they created to blindfold us in order to assimilate us. Bia's words, President Bia's words, not mine. Okay? I remember Kawala in a piece said this decentralization that Dr. Monzo is trumpeting here as though as if it can be an option, and then even assigning a group of our people as standing for it. Kawala, who is a pan-Cameroonese, talked about he actually ran down the years from 1992 or something like that until today. They've been talking of decentralization. It never took place. It never happened. It will never happen, because if you go to France, there's no there's no federation. They don't even know what federation means. There's no francophone country in the world that is federated. The only place where there's federation, where francophones know what federation is in Canada. And that's because it is an Anglo-Saxon country. So they said, you know what, we respect everybody's right, so you as a group have your state running your own way. When they took it, guess what they do? They ban English. You go to Quebec, you don't see English signs. Everything is in French. Everything is in French. Yeah, and Kawala is another politician who has accepted colonial status as the end of our road towards our own freedom. Kawala accepts that we are Cameroonese, will remain Cameroonese forever. Let's just accept our subhuman standard, our subhuman status in that place, our poverty, our bankruptcy, our land as a place where they come and get their servants and then turn around and say, voila mon baminda. That we should accept that. Crazy. There is nothing like giving power to any local government. The French system does not know anything about it. So Dr. Monzo is just talking baselessly. He's just running his mouth, trying to pull things from the air and make the enemy's case. Why are you doing that? You see why you're feeling like you're not a Southern Cameroonian? Because you're doing these crazy things. But he's defending a system that he has benefited from tremendously. He was educated by La République du Cameroon. They employed him. He belonged to the CPDM. You know, at the time when SDF was the thing, Dr. Monzo was an official of CPDM. So you can see where he's coming from. He's coming from a place where he's done well. And he's done well as an individual. And maybe it's okay, because we have citizens around the world who have done well in the countries in which they are. But they're not advocating for those countries to go and take their ancestral home, or their ancestral country, if you want to call it. He belonged to the CPDM, and when he took time off to flirt with SCNC, they helped him take a job with the UN. Because there was a time when Dr. Monzo was the spokesman of the SCNC, and when they came to New York and the UN played them, they went home. They went back empty-handed. Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a tough time for Dr. Monzo, who had just left his job. But La République stepped in, because if your home country does not support you, the UN doesn't give you a job. So they helped him, and so he comes back now. He's retired. He's doing well, what I would have advised Dr. Monzo to do is just to stay quiet and enjoy his life. Where is this urge to be out there all the time, searching for arguments to make? Is La République paying you, sir? Maybe they are. If they are, they're not doing it very tactfully, because, I mean, you're not doing an effective job because you don't have the facts. The solutions you're suggesting, you're building arguments on things that don't exist. And so, you know, they're making your job really, 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 really difficult. And I feel sorry for you. And that's why, like I said, it was hard watching Dr. Monzo try to make this case, because he looks sad. I was reading at some of the comments, and some of the comments, some people say he looks really sad and angry. Let's not be fooled again. I think that's the message that we as Ambazonians should listen. He's selling after the market and all of that, but let's not be fooled again, because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me the second time, shame on me, and we don't want to be shamed. For the first time in our history, we are speaking a different language and getting different results. La République Army is telling their government to negotiate before it's too late for them because of IEDs. I think Ambazonians are still in the defense mode. Ambazonians are not really on the offensive mode. We're still defending ourselves. Imagine what will happen if we now become an offensive force, or if we're in the offensive mode. And that is exactly what their military is looking at. They look at what we have, they look at our capabilities, and they're like, okay, politicians, try and stop this thing right now, because what we are experiencing in the field and these people's abilities, they have capabilities which they can take anywhere. And if we don't settle it with them now and they cross over to our territory, it'll be too late. So do it now. On top of that, shortly after that, the American government comes and say, negotiate with those people. And I've already given the argument that no, La République is not to negotiate anything. There's the only two things that La République can negotiate with us. They will negotiate to pull out, and they will negotiate when to pull out. They are not the ones to give us our independence. It is the international community that took us and gave to La République to give us our independence back. The British were like the foster parents, and they took the foster child and gave it to a rapist, and that rapist has done a lot of damage. A lot of damage to this protected person. And it is not up to the rapist to decide what happens to the rape victim. I'm sorry I have to put them in these terms, but that's exactly what it is. Even worse. So let us not buy that argument that look, America can tell La République to stop the war now and stop killing women and children and the sick and burning them in their homes. That is a war crime. And yes, that crime should stop. I think all the countries in the world should join the United States in telling La République, stop the war crimes now. But about the freedom of Ambazonia, the international community should join us and say we made a mistake, and the history shows that we were wrong. Because even Paul Biya himself went to Paris and said they were trying to assimilate you. The paperwork that the two alternatives said you would join La République du Cameroon as a federated state of equal status. There were only 8 items we were supposed to share with La République. 8. La République came and took over our lives, took over our land, and then tried to assimilate us. You cannot assimilate people unless you destroy their ability to be independent. And that's why there's no industry in Ambazonia. Even the industries that are in Ambazonia are occupied, are completely filled with Francophones. Even in Bamenda, in Ayaba Hotel. Go to Ayaba Hotel in the heart of Bamenda. The Bamenda is like the heart of the revolution. But if you go to the hotels there, 93% of the employees at Ayaba Hotel are Francophones. And they pay them higher than they pay the Ambazonians working there. That's what we've become. And this was the first democracy in Africa. Ambazonia was the first democracy in Africa where we elected a new prime minister and the new prime minister took over without an incident. The first. Go look at the history. And then now we have our governors appointed. They speak to us through interpreters. Our police, you talk to your police through interpreters. You even go to your post office now, you talk through interpreters. There was a time when we still had the old phone system. When you call Bamenda, the operators answer you in French. I don't know what Pobia drank that day when he was in Paris and said, we tried to assimilate them and they said they did not want to be assimilated. And so we're going to give them a special status. No, you don't have special status. How can you give us special status? You're still a colony of the French till today. You use their money, you sing the anthem they gave you, the flag is the flag they designed for you. They have co-parents in all of your institutions running the place. So your failure is actually the failure of France, because they do everything for you. They are your military trainer, equiper, and everything. So no, we want to develop ourselves. Dr. Monzo, the Ambazonian people are not just trying to survive. We're trying to develop ourselves and compete with the best in the world. We have the ability. So why should we settle to be ruled by a colonized people? What are you arguing about? Think about it. Think about it. I think Ambazonians are still in the defense game. Just wait for them to turn on their offensive game. But the question I have, and I've been trying to ask since the beginning of when I saw Dr. Monzo, is like, who brought him on? Why is the Southern Cameroon International, what do they call themselves? Why are they creating a forum and bringing Monzo there? Is that the most pressing thing in our struggle right now, to be listening to Monzo? And there are more important things that they could have brought to talk to, so that we are preparing ourselves for the next stage, or even understanding what's going on in our struggle right now? You go and bring somebody who is late in his arguments and who made those arguments there, and they didn't stop us. They didn't stop La République. The last time I shouldn't say the last time, because during this presentation he mentioned a lot of other presentations that he's made. But the last time I remember him making a very big presentation was in 2017. 1819, 2021. They go and bring him up again. I'm still waiting for what the agenda is. So the Southern Cameroon International Town Hall Forum people need to tell us, what is their agenda? What is their agenda? Because our people are in a struggle, but and Dr. Monzo is not the one of it's not the only off person that they've brought on that forum, and people are asking, why is that person talking? Maybe their forum has nothing to do with our struggle. Maybe their forum has nothing to do with our struggle. But when you see people who say they are in the struggle, bringing people who are not for the struggle, I begin to question those people. I'm like, what? Are you for real? So that's the presentation that I wanted to come and talk to you. Dr. Monzo did this, and talk about some of the presentations he's made. He mentioned that he was at the National Dialogue thing, and I just listened, and I felt, look, Dr. Monzo is a very smart guy, but some of the things he has done with his smartness are very disappointing, and I wish he stops intruding in the struggle. One of the other things that he did was he was saying, Or when he accepted the invitation, people had concern for him, like, oh, you are going to an Amba event and they've threatened you. No. I think those were just, if anybody threatened you, first of all, those people don't know how to speak in public. But I don't think anybody's going to hurt you. But I really think, doctor, that you should just not be doing this kind of work. It's tough to defend the wrong thing. You see, Ambazonians can speak very freely and make their case straightforward all the time because they are telling the truth. The facts are there. The truth doesn't lie. So come back home, sir, and be an Ambazonian without apologies. I see you apologizing all the time. You don't need to be in that position. Just come back home, fight for your people with no apologies. It's easy. There's only one way of looking at the problems of Ambazonia, and that way is as an Ambazonian. As an Ambazonian, nothing else. If you come as an Ambazonian that you say you are, and you want to play lawyer to La République du Cameroon, you just make a fool of yourself all over the place. Because once people understand our story, they see the unfairness there. They see the inhumanity there. They see what they see what the Ambazonians see and are fighting. And so when you come as an Ambazonian and you are trying to make the arguments of a colonizer, they see through you and nobody will want to take you seriously. Only the colonizers and the international interests that benefits from that colonization would like what they hear you saying, but they will know that they will never be partners with you. They will never. They will use you, but they will never be partners with you. I can tell you that the Ambazonians who are fighting for their freedom today will be heroes, not only to Ambazonians, but to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world love people who stand against injustice. They love people who stand for what is right, and they love people who think straight. Think straight. Not polluted by money, not polluted by any other interest, but the interest that you are talking about. And that interest is the interest of Ambazonia, and you are acting as though you're talking of La République du Cameroon.